Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, stop. If you don't want to lose your friends right now for extremely budget prices, well, don't do that. Don't lose your friends. But you can still watch this episode and enjoy it. Just don't buy the deck and play it against them, because then they might, not be your friends anymore. But if you're okay with losing your friends for a very, very cheap price, this is the place for you. This is exactly where you need to be, and there's going to be a Decklist link in the description that will help you out in losing your friends. So how we're going to be losing our friends is pretty simple. It's going to be by building around Oswald Fiddlebender. Now, just building around Oswald isn't enough to actually lose your friends. It's a pretty powerful commander, and one that can do some pretty crazy and awesome things. And actually, I've already built a really cool deck around it before, but that wouldn't actually lose friends. That deck's not going to lose friends. This deck, though, will, because yes, Oswald is the commander, but it is not the focus of the deck. It is just the means to the end. It is, well, let's read the card. A 2/2 Gnome Artificer for 1 and a white. Magical Tinkering. Pay a white, tap, sacrifice an artifact. Go get an artifact with mana value. 1+ you sacrifice artifact's mana value. Put on the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. So essentially, this is kind of like a pod, but for artifacts. And yeah, even a mono white commander apparently can be so disgustingly built that you can lose your friends. So yeah, again, this commander just inherently isn't lose friend worthy, but the next card that I'm going to talk about, what this entire deck is built around, is. So with all that said, let's jump into it. And so the golden pig of this deck, the card that is going to help you lose your friends, Possess Portal. A crazy brutal card that, here we go. An artifact for 8 mana. If a player would draw a card, the player skips that draw instead. Okay, so first up, this just shuts down any kind of drawing. Anyone who wants to draw a card, and yeah, typically players in Commander, basically every player in Commander wants to draw cards to progress their game forward. And many players have card draw in their deck. It's a variety of cards they could have to be like, yeah, I draw a card here, I draw a card there, I draw a card everywhere. Well, unfortunately, this just says, no one draws any more cards. You don't get the card, to start your turn off. You don't get any cards from spells that you're casting that say draw a card. That's just shut down. Oh, and by the way, on top of that, at the end of each turn, each player sacrifices a permanent unless they discard a card from their hand. Okay, so basically, we're just all going to be going down with the number of cards that we now have in play and in our hand, and no one's going to have any cards. And you know what? With our commander, well, we can, number one, get this card out quite easily, quite quickly to ensure that this fun just starts for everyone. And also on top of that, although we can't draw cards, we can also maybe go get certain cards that can help us out and maybe help increase the number of things that we have in play that we can then sacrifice. And we can ensure that while we stay ahead of our opponents, we can take out our opponents, and also we can make lives miserable for everyone else out there. They have no cards left, we have everything left, and we are fine. And actually, we can ensure that we utilize this card in a fantastic way so that if it's ever dealt with, well, we can get it back again and again and again, still shutting down our opponents, still losing our friends. Yeah, this can definitely drive them crazy and drive them out of the room and out of our lives. Lose your friends with Possess Portal. So now let's move on to tactic number 2, 7th Heaven, because, well, to get to that portal again, we need to utilize our commander to sacrifice an artifact that costs 7. You got it. Angel of the Ruins, a great one, a 5/7 flyer for 7 mana. ETB is very important here, though. Enters the battlefield, exile 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, so get rid of some very important things for your opponents that they might want to have around that they can sacrifice, for our portal. But no, we're getting rid of some things. And on top of that, we can plain cycle this way if we need to. Moving on, Barricade Breaker, a 7/5 Juggernaut with 7 mana. Attacks each combat available, but the important part here is improvise. Our artifacts can actually help us cast this, and because of that, you can get it out quite quickly, and then, yeah, sacrifice this for Oswald to go get your, golden pig. Moving on, Combat Thresher. If you need to get this out early, you can as a prototype, just a 1/1 double strike. ETBs, draw a card, but if you'd rather get this out to be the the next card for the portal, essentially, to be sacrificed for that portal. It's a 3/3 with double strike. Cool. But again, it has the 7 mana, which is what we care about. Next up, God Pharaoh's Gift. This is a hilarious card in this deck. Artifact for 7. Beginning of combat in your turn. You may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, you get a token's combo. It's a 4/4 zombie, though. So essentially, again, our opponents, everyone, is going to be going down on permanents and cards in their hand. But if we have this in play with the portal, we keep getting back more and more and more creatures out of our graveyard, essentially. I mean, exiled token copies of them. And then also some of those, maybe bring along some friends with them to give us some more fodder to sacrifice. Next up, Ingenuity Engine. Cascade, so some free value there, which is lovely. Also pay 1 tap, sacrifice an artifact, bounce an artifact control back to its owner's hand. This can actually be a good way to protect the portal if we actually need to by either getting it into our graveyard or actually getting it back to our hand. Next up, Meteor Golem. ETB, destroy target non-land permanent, and opponent controls not a non-land opponent. But yes, again, a way to take out a pesky permanent, and also one to say, now you've got less resources, less things for you to sacrifice until you get down to, well, nothing. Then there's Mirror Battlesphere again, a way to say, you know what, we've got a lot of things. A 4/7 ETB, make 4/1/1 mirror. This is a huge ETB to use and abuse because, again, the more fodder we have, the more time we have for that portal to be in play, and the more effective it's going to be. Taking out everything, not having to sacrifice it, and just keeping it there, and just keeping ahead of our opponents. Moving on, Pentavus. Yes, another card that's like, hey, you know what? You've got a lot of friends, a lot of fodder you can utilize. 0/0 enters with 5 counters. Pay 1, remove a counter from it, make a Pentavite. You can also do the opposite, essentially. Sacrifice a Pentavite to get a counter on this. That being said, again, basically an army in a box right here. I mean, you can basically get, what, 5 creatures out of this in total, because technically this plus 4 counters removed. If you remove the 5th, then it's going to get taken out. But still, keep in mind, a lot of bodies to be had. Next up, Sandstone Oracle. A 4/4 flyer, ETB chooses the opponent. If they've got more cards in hand than you, you draw cards equal difference. Again, getting your hand up can be huge to ensure that you have cards that you can discard, again, on top of the cards that you can sacrifice as well. Keep in mind, this does not work when the portal is in play. You can't draw a card, so do not fall into that trap. Moving on, Sojourner's Companion. This one is potentially the best out of all of the ways to set yourself up for that portal. A 4/4 Salamander for 7 mana, but it's got affinity for artifacts, which means, again, essentially, hey, you're going to be playing it for at a massive reduced cost or even for free in certain circumstances very quickly, very easily to be able to say, cool, all right, I get this into play. Next turn, activate Oswald, and the shenanigans continue. Next up, Spine of Ishsa. Yet another way to destroy things. We've got a lot of ways to destroy things, apparently. ETB, destroy target permanent. On top of that, it's integrated from the battlefield. Return it back to its owner's hand. So again, get this in play. Destroy something. Take down your opponent's permanent count. Then also, yeah, sacrifice with your commander. Get it back into your hand on top of getting the portal back into play. Then there's Wondrous Crucible. Pirates, you control have Ward 2, which is fantastic. A great way to protect things, especially that portal. And on top of that, beginning of your end step, mill 2 cards and exile a non-land card at random from your graveyard. Copy it, cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This can be huge again because, yeah, you can't draw cards. You can't get any more resources in that way. So having a different avenue to actually get resources can be massive. So essentially, yeah, cast things for free, not off the top of your library, but top to graveyard to then, basically casting it for free. So yeah, a lot of different ways to take advantage of the situation when your opponents aren't going to be able to. Next up, though, it's going to pick 6 because, yes, we need to get up to this 7 mana, right? Essentially, and sometimes you just need to pod chain up. You need to go from one to the other to the other. So let's go from 6 to 7, and we've got some ways to speed that up we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, at 6, we've got Coveted Jewel, a crazy cool card. ETBs, draw 3 cards, tap for 3 mana of one color. And then also, hey, if an opponent happens to get through the creature on you, they steal it and also draw 3 cards. So yeah, not the best, but what is so good about this one with this commander is, hey, you can get around that downside by getting into play, drawing your 3 cards, tapping it for mana, tapping your commander, sacrificing it, and going and get something that costs 7. Also, you don't need to do that right away if, you think you're protected, if you've got enough blockers, your opponents are going to go through on you, so keep that in mind. But yeah, this kind of mitigates the downside. Moving on, Cyber Ship, 8/8 flying vehicle for 6 mana, deals combat damage to a player. Put the top 2 cards of that player's library onto the battlefield, face down to your control. They're 2/2 Cyber artifact creatures, crew 4. So yet another card that's going to be in play, that's adding fodder for us while taking away resources from your opponents that they wouldn't get anyways. But being able to add fodder for us is huge so that we can just keep sacrificing things, whereas our opponents are going to be like, I'm down to my lands to sacrifice and I've got no cards in my hand, and why are you doing this? We're not friends anymore. And that's the point of the deck, right? Next up, Lore Seeker Stone, artifact for 6 mana, pay 3, tap, draw 3 cards, cost 1 more, activate each card in your hand. Again, keep in mind, this can't activate. I mean, you can technically activate it, but you're not going to get anything out of it when you have Possess Portal in play. But before that, a good way to set yourself up for gains. Moving on, Razor Golem, yet another great way to set yourself up, going from, hey, nothing big in play, to a 6-mana artifact in play, 3/4 Golem with Affinity for planes. We've got a lot of planes in this deck. This can basically just cost nearly nothing or nothing. Attack, it does cost a tap, so Vigilance, that doesn't really matter. What does matter, again, is being able to cheat this into play again for cheap, then activating our commander to get to that 7, then maybe get to that 8. Next up, Soul Phyrexia, 6/6 Trampler for 6 mana, pay 5, permanent control, gain indestructible till end of turn. An incredible way, incredible repeatable way to protect all of our permanents, including, of course, the portal. Yeah, that can be quite hard to deal with once we get things set up. And yeah, if this is in our graveyard, we can pay 5 to exile it, and permanents you control gain indestructible till end of turn. So another great way to protect things. Steel Hellkite, another way to take away our opponent's resources. A 5/5 dragon with flying can make it slightly larger if you really want to. And then you can also pay X for each line. Permanent mana cost X whose control result combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate only once each turn. Basically, hey, you got a lot of things that are at 3. Let's just, wipe all of those out. Take away your opponent's resources. Make it so that portal hurts them even more. And hurts your friendship even more. Then there's Thopter Assembly, finally, a 5/5 Thopter for 6 mana with flying. Give her up, keep you control no other Thopters other than this. Bounce it back to its source hand, create 5 Thopters with flying. So, yeah, this is just an incredible way to repeatedly create Thopters again and again and again that you're going to keep sacrificing to the portal. So yeah, basically a crazy, crazy engine for you to ensure that you have enough fodder to survive, which your opponents will not. But now let's move on to tactic number 5, High Five. We've got some cards that can help us out at 5 mana. Again, that pod chain working up. Cataclysmic Gearhulk, a 4/5 construct with Vigilance for 5 mana. Enters the battlefield to play, choose an artifact, creature, enchantment. Planeswalker from the permanents they control, sacrifice the rest. This can really set everyone back and just say, hey, you know what? Let's all just reduce what we've got. We've got to trim things down and then set yourself up for that portal play. Next up, Dollhouse of Horrors, an artifact for 5, pay 1, tap, exile a creature from your graveyard. It's a token, except it's a 0/0 contract and get larger. Activate on sorcery speed. Basically, the thing that matters with this, again, it is a way to utilize resources that are elsewhere, again, your graveyard, to say, oh, okay, cool, I can keep making more and more fodder, and of course, take advantage of awesome ETBs like Mirror Battlesphere and whatnot, essentially. So yeah, make sure you're keeping that in mind. Next up, speaking of ETBs, Mirror Battleworks. Why don't know why I said that? Mirrorworks, Mirror Battleworks, Mirror Battlesphere plus Mirrorworks. There we go. An artifact for 5 mana. Whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield you control, you may pay 2. If you do create tokens, copy that artifact. Here's the thing. You know what's worse than 1 Possessed Portal? 2 Possessed Portals. Absolutely brutal. Things are going to go. Actually, I mean, maybe it's less brutal because things go a little quicker, but still a way to say, yeah, there's no way that you're getting out of this hole, opponents. I'm going to be fine. It's just also a great way to, again, take advantage of other artifacts, other great ETBs you're going to take advantage of. And another one you can take advantage of is Norn's Annex. Artifact for 5 mana or 3 and basically 4 life because that Phyrexian white. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays Phyrexian white for each of those creatures. If they don't have white mana, they're going to have to pay their life, and they might not want to do that. But yeah, your opponents might get a little mad at you when you're doing all this. So yeah, make sure you're taking out their things and also protecting yourself with something like this. So just sit back and say, you know what, everyone, relax. It's fine. Because I also have Platoon Dispenser, a 4/6 construct. At the end of your end step, if you control 2 or more other creatures, draw a card. So early on, this can actually provide you card advantage. On top of that, though, pay 3 and a white, create a 1/1 color soul draw effect creature token. So this is a repeatable way to make more and more and more tokens to be able to say, yeah, I'm fine with my creature fodder. You might not be. And also you can unearth it too, which is nice. Then there's Unstable Glyph Bridge. Yeah, a lot of removal in this deck too. Artifact for 5 mana, enters the battlefield if you cast it. For each player, choose a creature power 2 or less that player controls. Oswald has power 2, right? Then destroy all creatures except the creatures chosen this way. You can also craft with an artifact. When you do, Sandswirl Wanderglyph, 5/3 flyer. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, they can't attack you. Which will attack you, or Planeswalker can't cast spells. So essentially a way again to deter your opponents from really taking advantage of what they should be and opportunities to take you out before you do all this stuff. But you're going to say, nah, let's not do that. Let's just stall things out. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be too late. Next up, though, tactic number 6, the 4th dimension. 4 mana cards. First up, Neverall's Disc, a great panic button or a great way to set yourself up if you're, well, working things properly and saying, you know what, let's just wipe things clean before I get things going. Artifact for 4 mana, enters the battlefield tapped, pay 1, tap, destroy artifacts, creatures, and enchantments to wipe things out. Scare Teller, a great way to take advantage of cards that might be in your hand or in your graveyard. A 1/4 Scarecrow for 4 mana, comes tapped, put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped, or from your graveyard. So again, if you're sacrificing lands, you can get them back with this. And then there's Trading Post, a very flexible card that can help us out in a lot of circumstances. Artifact for 4, pay 1, tap. Does a lot of things. You either discard a card, gain 4 life, pay 1 life, make a 0/1 goat, sacrifice creature artifact card from grave to your hand, sacrifice an artifact, draw a card. So a lot of value, a lot of utility here. Again, keep in mind, just an engine that can actually just keep making more and more goats for you to be sacrificing. Sorry, goats. But now let's go on to tactic number 7, protect the portal, because your opponents, might not like the portal so much. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to protect it with Blacksmith skill, and instant for a single white mana. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible out of turn. So yeah, no, you're not touching it. Nope, not touching it at all. Also, you can protect another key piece if you want, like maybe your commander with this too. Lordscape is another one. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible on turn. Scry 1. So again, a great way for just 1 mana to protect a key piece like the portal. Next up, Intelligent Silas, a very weird card, but a card that can help us out. Artifact for 1, tap a target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. So yeah, just having this up and ready to go in case an opponent tries to get rid of your portal, you can say, okay, well, I'm not going to have it in play still, but I need to make sure that I can get it back, so let's just put this on the bottom of our library. So then next turn I can sacrifice something that costs 7, bring it right back, and your opponents will be like, no, we worked so hard, and you're going to be like, yeah. Leave the room, you're not my friend anymore, right? Anyways, yeah, that's the point of the deck, for some reason. Lost to Legend, an instant 4 white, but target non-land historic permanent into its owner's library, 4th from the top. So again, a way to either save the portal or get rid of one of your opponent's things that they'll then never see again, which is just lovely. Then there's Unexpectedly Absent again. Instant for X white, but target non-land permanent owner's library, just make the top X cards of that library. So again, a way to get rid of your opponent's things, or a way to protect the portal in a way. Scroll Shift, another way to do that. Instant for 2 and a white. Basically, blink an artifact, creature, enchantment you control, bring it right back to the battlefield under its owner's control, draw a card as well, so it replaces itself, which is nice. But also, a blink effect can be a great way to say, oh yeah, you targeted my portal. No, let's just temporarily get rid of it, bring it right back, or a way to take advantage of an ETB, so keep that in mind. Sculpting Steel, a crazy good card in this deck. Artifact for 3, you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield, so if an opponent has something great, cool. Or, yeah, just another portal, or, yeah, another copy of whatever artifact you may need and may have. Moving on, Touch Spirit Realm, yet another way to essentially blink the portal if you need to. You can channel it by paying 1 and a white and discarding it to blink it, bring it back at the end step, protect it from, well, many things, including maybe a Wrath. Enters the battlefield, exiles up to 1 target artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield. So it's another way to just temporarily get rid of something or permanently get rid of something if no opponent can get rid of this. Then there's Phyrexian Triniform, a card that I'm essentially going to be pointing out that, hey, this one is at 9. So if you actually need to get rid of the portal, if you actually need to protect yourself from the portal, let's say things aren't going exactly how you thought they were going to be going, your opponent's maybe got some fodder out, you're like, you know what, let's just stop things. Let's stop the portal for now. I'll get it in my graveyard. I've got ways to get it back, and I'm actually going to sacrifice it, go get something that costs 9 to bring this into play, a 9/9 that when it dies, you get 3 3/3s. Lovely. Again, more fodder. On top of that, you can encore it back out for even more fodder, so make sure you're keeping all that in mind. But now let's go on to tactic number 7, speed it up. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, yeah, I mean, it can be a little more slow in plotting sometimes if you're just pod chaining up one at a time. But we can speed things up by saying, you know what, let's untap our commander and do that again right away. We got a lot of cards that untap our commander. Many of them do other things too that don't matter all that much, but here we go. Acrobatic Leap, an instant for a single white mana. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Cool! Don't care. Untap it is what we care about. A 1 mana untap. So again, you can activate your commander for 1 mana. You tap it. You play this for 1 mana. You untap. You play it again. You play it again. You activate your commander again. You tap it. All of a sudden, you spent 3 mana to pod chain up twice. And yeah, again, you can go from 6 all the way up to 8 in absolutely no time to surprise your opponents. They might have thought they had another turn, but they don't. Then there's your Resolve. Untap a creature, prevent all damage to be dealt to it. Cycle it away if you don't need it. Escape from Orthonac. Again, exact same thing as that first one. +1/+3 flying. Untap it. Light the Way. A very flexible one. Choose one, get a counter target creature vehicle. Untap it. Sure, Oswald. slightly buffer, 3/3, right? Or, hey, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Most important things, again, are that untap or bouncing back a permanent you control. Again, if someone's trying to get rid of the portal, let's bounce it back to make sure that we can get it back out. Then there's Veteran's Reflexes, counter on, or sorry, +1/+1 until end of turn for that creature, untap the creature. Wings of the Cosmos, +1/+3, and flying again, we got a lot of those apparently, untap it again. It doesn't matter what they do for the most part. Again, the untapping is what we really care about and what can really speed things up and do some crazy things, some unexpected things their opponents might not be expecting. But now let's move on to tactic number 8, start your engines, because, yeah, we actually have to get to all of this. And how we're going to be doing that is we're going to be ramping quickly, effectively, efficiently. And here we go, Wayfarer's Bauble. First up, of course, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2 taps, sacrifice, go to base land in a play tap. Everflowing Chalice, a great flexible mana rock. 2 mana taps for 1, 4 mana taps for 2, etc., etc. Fractured Power Stone, not as flexible, but still very efficient. 2 mana, taps for 1. Guardian Idol enters the battlefield, tap for 2 mana, taps for 1, or we can make it into a 2/2. Yeah, again, to be able to finish off your opponents, they might not have anything in place, so they might just quit, or yeah, you need to swing at them with things. Even your mana rock can swing now. Lovely. Marble Diamond enters the battlefield, taps for a white. Mind Stone enters the battlefield, untap, taps for a colorless. Pay 1 tap, sacrifice, draw a card. Obsidian Obelisk enters the battlefield, taps for a colorless. Also taps for colorless, multi-colored spells, I should say, but we don't have any of those, which is okay. Prismatic Lens taps for 1, or you can filter mana if you really need to. Foundry Inspector, not a mana rock necessarily, but a way to actually reduce the cost of all of our artifacts by 1, which is massive. Yeah, I can save you a lot of mana throughout the game. Born Power Stone, also at 3 mana, enters battlefield tapped, and you can tap it for a colorless. So yeah, a great way to just boost yourself very quickly with mana. Hedron Archive at 4, taps for 2, also pay 2 taps, sacrifice, draw 2 cards. Again, don't fall in the trap of if you've got Possessed Portal in play, don't actually try to draw those cards. But other than that, getting those cards if you need to earlier is great. Ichor Elixir, ignore many things on this card, except for the fact that just, taps for 2, essentially. Sisay's Ring does the exact same thing. So does Golem's Eye. So does Stone Speaker Crystal, except on top of that, pay 2 taps, sacrifice it, exiling target player's graveyards, draw a card. So, hey, if your opponents are playing graveyard-type synergies, get rid of them. And also draw a card on top of that. And then laugh at them a little bit. Dreamstone Hedron, another great card. 6 mana, taps for 3, pay 3 taps, sacrifice, draw 3 cards. So if you need to, make sure you're doing that. Now, we've already talked about many ways to throw a wrench in our opponent's plans, but now let's move on to tech number 9 for just a couple more. Decimation. First up, we've got Divine Reckoning. Sorcery for 4 mana. Each player chooses a creature they control, destroy the rest, and you can flash it back. So a wrath that can happen twice can really wipe out opponents' boards and ensure that their creature fodder supply is quite low. And again, the only creature that we really care about most of the time to start things off is Oswald. So yeah, we keep Oswald around. We utilize it to get our portal out. Then there's Expel the Interloper. Sorcerer for 5 mana. Choose a number between 0 and 10. Destroy creatures' power greater than or equal to the chosen number. So essentially we can say, you know what, let's just keep around our commander and maybe some small creatures, maybe some tokens that we have, and all of our opponents, yeah, most of your creatures are probably going to be gone. And then finally Fell the Mighty, very similar. Source for 5 mana, destroy creatures' power greater than target creature's power. Again, our commander has very low power, 2 power. So essentially we're going to say, yeah, okay, hey, everything bigger than that is gone. Your opponents might get many things wiped out, maybe their entire thing's wiped out, and they don't have anything else to sacrifice, and then they're in big trouble and their lands are gone. And speaking of lands, let's move on to tech number 10, Great Lands. First up, Castle Ardenvale can help us make human tokens. You're gonna see a little pattern here with what we can do with these cards. Dunes of the Dead, taps for a colorless, and also when it's been engraved from the battlefield, you make a 2/2 zombie. So again, by sacrificing this to the portal, you replace it with another piece of fodder. Next up, Foundry of the Consoles. We can pay 5 tap sacrifice to make 2 Thopters for some more. Fantastic, well, fodder. Hull of Taxon, pay 4 tap, make a Power Stone token. What are we gonna use that Power Stone token for? Not for tapping it for mana, but for actually, just for, the sacrificing, the fodder. I guess you could use it for mana for non-artifact spells too if you really want to. Memorial of Glory is another great one. We can pay 3 tap, 3 in a white tap, sacrifice, make 2 soldiers. Spawning Bed, pay 6 tap, sacrifice, make 3 Eldrazi Signs. You can actually sacrifice for mana if you really need to. Urza's Factory, pay 7 tap, make a 2/2 assembly work creature token. Voldaren Estate, we're going to make a blood token by paying 5 and tapping it. It costs 1 to activate for each vampire we control. We don't really have vampires. So what we care about, again, is being able to get fodder into play. And yeah, we even have lands that can get us fodder to help survive the portal, whereas our opponents aren't going to be so lucky. But now as this episode is coming to a close, comment below with your thoughts on this deck. Do you think this deck could help you lose your friends? Are you looking to lose your friends for a very budget-friendly deck? If you are, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.